little bit like most teams in the league, with the exception of Purdue. Been really good and had some not so great moments. But had some unbelievable. When they played Northwestern, I thought they were as talented as any team in the league. They're a team that is very typical of Chris's teams. They're always very, very talented on the offensive side. I think they've got the best freshman, arguably, in our league. Bryce Sensabaugh. He's unique in that he's physically very, very strong and powerful. 6'6", 240 pounds. He can hurt you from the three. He can hurt you. He's got really an ungettable fadeaway jump shot going to his left. He makes it a high rate. Chris's team's offensive rebound, and they play great in transition. And you've got to account for those things. But I think we're in a better place than we were last time we met. Having a couple of days off. Matt's obviously feeling better after being sick, that break was much needed. But we'll have to play exceptionally well to beat this team. And it's like any of about 13 teams in this league right now. If you don't play well, you're going to lose.
I guess for those 2 days, I mean, what be you completely off, or like how much interaction do you have with those guys?
None. NCAA doesn't allow us to have any organized anything. Guys might have come in and shot a little bit. They did some treatments with Paul if they needed him for whatever. I think it's I think Matt spent the better part of a day sleeping, trying to get healthy. He indicated he slept 11.5, 12 hours and woke up for a few hours and went back to bed. Tough stretch. Obviously did some good things in that stretch, but a couple days off. Now it's kind of get back and you're right back into game mode. So game prep. It's not like we have a day to prepare, to work on ourselves. It's right back into the Buckeyes and game prep mode.
Ohio State's been great at defending the three ball this year. Is the team going to emphasize getting the ball inside to Dane and company more to get them more post touches?
It's fairly interesting when you look at some of their numbers. I think Purdue took 31 threes against them. I think on the other hand, Maryland took 13. So I think you've got to find a balance. Maryland was able to get to the foul line a lot. I think Northwestern took a lot of threes against them. To me, it's always about shot selection. Is always about taking the right shot at the right time, and whether that's inside or outside. We don't always have a specific set game plan to go in. I think it's what they do in their coverages and how we attack them to get the best shot available, and whatever that is, we'll see how that plays out during the game.
Coach, what are some of the keys to slowing them down offensively? Are there 2 or 3 things that you've pinpointed in practice to slow them down?
Yeah, when they're really good, they're elite in transition. They play really fast. Zed Key is a outstanding rim runner. He gets a basket, 2 baskets every single game, just running the floor. They've got enough shooting that they find threes in transition. You've got to keep them off the offensive glass. I think they're always one of the top offensive rebounding teams. Sewing, Sensabaugh, Zed, you can find them when a shot goes up in one area, and that's around the rim. Those guys do a great job of getting easy baskets. They're talented enough offensively. You can't give them opportunities in those other areas. You've got to be conscious of those areas as well.
Brad, when you look back at the IU film, specifically on the defensive end, did you feel there were more significant tweaks that may need to be made moving forward, or is it more minor stuff and just getting guys a little bit of a breather after that tough stretch like you mentioned?
I think it was we were in quicksand. I think it was, and again, Trace is, the one thing that's happened with Indiana, in my opinion, with their injuries, Trace now touches the ball every trip. every single trip. And that guy is as confident as any player in the country. He's playing as well as what everybody thought they would when they recruited him. And you know, it's you know, it's yesterday. Well, do you double him? Well, yesterday, a guy makes 5 threes. And you know, it's a pick your poison when you have a great player. And but man, boy, were we slow. We were, our reaction time was off. We just stood around and we let guys, Geronimo and other guys, you know, he had 4 points at the under 8 media. And then all of a sudden we just crashed. And it was the other stuff that was disappointing in that game.
After a couple days off, how much is Luke Neal would be involved with you guys since you've gotten back, and how's
He's
that?
not yet. He's not yet. Luke is still doing everything individually. You know, he was cleared to come back to practice, or cleared to get ready for practice, excuse me. Which involves, you know, now the next step is actual pounding on it, doing ball stuff, doing individual workouts. Yesterday, he did play some 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 where he's actually planting and doing some of those things. He'll have another couple days of that to make sure that the foot isn't sore, that there's no swelling. I think there's one more x-ray, and then if everything's good there, then he'll be able to come back to practice, and we hope sometime, you know, here in the next week, you know, 6, 7, 8 days, whatever that is.
I guess when you're able to insert him back into things, what do you feel like he can bring this team? What can he do having missed 3 months with you?
Great
guys?
question. I don't know. And until we get him in practice, you know, he's been gone since, I don't know, when we scrimmage Kansas, October something, I don't know, whatever it was, whatever the day was, you know, so you're talking November, December, you're talking a guy that's been out 10, 12 weeks, minimum 13, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months. And getting him involved in practice will be fun. It'll be interesting to see because we know his shooting, we know his toughness, we know his rebounding. Those are all things that we saw last year, but you know, he hasn't done it in a game this year. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was utilized last year, but not in major minute roles, and we'll see what that looks like as we move forward.
I know you recruited Bryce out of high school. Is what he's done for Ohio State what you thought he was capable of, especially maybe the 3-point shooting?
Yeah, he's a elite scorer. I mean, there's you always look for guys who can, you know, I call them bucket makers. It doesn't matter. I mean, he scores it off the bounce, he scores it in the post, he scores it off the glass. He's an elite isolation player. So yeah, they've got a very talented player, and he's a very gifted offensive talent.
Coach, we're going to be talking with RJ Melendez after this. How has he embraced his role coming off the bench? And have your expectations for him changed at all in the new role?
He's playing great. He's playing great. He's playing the best he's played all year. He was very good against Indiana. I'm excited about him. He needs to find more time. We need to get him on the court more. He has simplified the game for him, which is just playing hard and defending at an elite level, which he's been doing. And now the ball's starting to find the bottom of the net for him, and we need that. That elevates our team a great deal. Is his ability to make shots.
That stretch he had to close out the Indiana game, if like 5 points, like a minute and a half, for somebody who's been kind of fighting it offensively, is that important for him just to simply see that happen in a game? And did you guys make a concerted effort in the last 2 minutes of that to just let him try to get some shots up in the game?
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes it's a free throw, sometimes it's a layup, sometimes it's a dunk. I thought his dunk in that game was as a good a feel-good moment as there is, and sometimes you got to feel good. You got to just find a feel-good moment on the offensive end to see that thing go in. And you know, he's been working exceptionally hard, and like I said, he's playing the hardest he's played in his career. I mean, he's playing extremely hard, and now we get RJ back shooting the cover off of it like we know he can, he gives us a completely different element. So I hope that's, and I think we're past that, all the struggle. He's come out on the other side of that.
Brad, I know you've talked about regularly, any team can beat any team, and that seems to be the case year in and year out in this league. But is the parity this year seem unique to this season in the Big Ten?
Well, I think right now, as of today, one team's ranked and they're number one, and nobody else is ranked. Probably rightfully so, and from this sense, I think Purdue's got the best player I won't say the best, but they got the most dominant player in college basketball, and no one's had an answer for him yet. The thing that I think is a little bit different this year is there's been some teams with some really bad losses, quad 4 losses, and maybe that's hurt the rest of the league. But again, I think the league's a little bit younger than it's been. I think more freshmen are playing. I think that there's more newcomers in the league because of the portal, and that's created maybe a little more parity. I don't think the league's any better, any worse. I think it's ridiculous that we only have one team, right? I think there should be 7 or 8 of us. But I've also understand who does the voting, so I don't put 2 cents to that. And I think it's important to understand that we're a good league, and it's really hard, and the games are really hard, and the places, the venues we play. And I look at yesterday. I mean, what's no offense to Temple, they're good, but they're 130, and they beat Houston at home, who's won. Kansas has lost 2 in a row. UCLA gets beat. It's just it's the nature of the beast. I don't think there's a great team. I think there's a lot of parity, and I think there's a lot of really good teams. And early in the week, Xavier, everybody's talking about how good they are. They lost to DePaul in a conference game. So I just think it's the time of year, and I don't make anything of it. This league is great. This league has the best coaches and the best venues, and it's really, really hard. And this might be a year where there's not a dominant, maybe one dominant team if you want to look at it right now, but they've also won 4 or 5 really close games. So take it for what it is. It's a great league.
Brad, I think you mentioned a couple weeks ago, going back to RJ, that he was one of the guys who was kind of stepping up in a leadership capacity. How have you seen that develop over the course of the season, and is that something you guys as coaches kind of brought up to him early, or how has that developed?
Yeah, he's a guy who's been here. He understands our culture, and I use culture probably till you guys get sick of it, but it's everything that we're about, and he understands that, and yet he's got to hold himself at times to that same standard. But he's been great. He's talking freshmen through it. He's always talking to guys on the sideline about, hey, this is something we're doing. See this. And he's constant communication, which he wasn't early. And when you get that, you get guys talking about us, not about me. And that's the important piece to leadership. And now RJ's wholeheartedly in that. I think we're seeing that with Coleman. I think we're seeing it with Terrence Shannon at an elite level as well. So those are all positive things that make you feel good as a coach.
Just one more about the Indiana game. How do you look at that now? Because you're not going to be in a circumstance where it's 19 straight days. Is it just one of those where it's victim of circumstance? You flush it. What's your, approach with that game?
We didn't show our team 1 second of it. We talked a little bit about being tougher because of the moment, because of the situation, and we've got to be through that. We've talked about some things offensively, but 13 or 14 missed layups, 13 or 14 missed free throws. That's mental fatigue. That's not there. I mean, we make a couple of those layups early, and think of the ones just Terrence missed. It's just almost laughable. You just sit there and realize sometimes it's not your day, and whatever that reason is, you just kind of move on, you learn your lessons from it, and, you know, when we play them again, we'll bring that thing back out and we'll try to make the adjustments then, but it's not one to, as much as I hate losing, it's not one we're gonna try to really dwell on.
You and Chris have basically kind of replaced a bunch of your rotation from last year. Just from a 30,000-foot viewpoint, what do you feel like Chris has done to kind of allow his guys to play free and have success when he's replacing 60% of his lineup and, you know, a whole bunch of his rotation?
Yeah, you know, and I think the one thing that we're similar in that we're both playing freshmen. You know, he's done an unbelievable job of recruiting there. You know, and I think that you could argue that he had one of the top freshman classes. You know, and I don't think anybody truly expects freshmen to go like Branham did. But he did, and he had an outstanding year. He's got another one that's probably in that same boat. But he's also relying on Sewing, Zed Key. You know, Sewing's been there for, you know, I mean, he's an older guy, grad. You bring in Isaac Likely from Oklahoma State, who's an upperclassman who's been there. You bring in the young man from West Virginia. They're all old, and they've done a nice job of filling in recruiting like that. So yeah, he's you know, I think anytime you've got new guys like he and I have had, you're going to have some ups and downs in your season, and I think they were 9-2 at one time, maybe 10-2 after the Northwestern game. And you know, you're going to hit a speed bump. It doesn't. It's just the way it is when there's new people. And but he's a terrific coach and done a terrific job.
Not to give away the scouting report or anything, but
Then don't ask it.
what are
I won't tell you.
what are some opportunities your team's gonna have offensively against their defense?
I mean, they're good defense. They're real. This team is as physical a basketball team as you'll see. I mean, they all look like they could go play for their football team. I mean, they're big, strong, thick. You know, and you've got to accept that's the way they're going to play. For us, it's we got to execute better on the offensive end. We've got to. I don't care what they do. We have to execute better. We have to screen better. We have to have better timing. We have to make better reads in our ball screen stuff. And when we've done that at times, we've run great offense, and we've been very, very efficient, and we've gotten the right guys shots where they can make them in their spots, and we've got to do all those things to beat this team.
When you say RJ has simplified the game, like it sounds kind of, I guess, easy, but I'm thinking there's probably more to it than to just get somebody to simply simplify. Like, how did you guys kind of work him into that to just play hard like that?
Yeah, for RJ, it's been really simple. Play really, really hard, and show everybody, you know, he's becoming an outstanding defender. You know, he's got length, he's athletic, and just worry about doing that. Don't clog your mind with, oh man, I got to make this shot, or put pressure on yourself to make every shot. And the game doesn't find you when you do that. So we say simplify. Worry about guarding, and he has done that. And he's taken great pride in just simply, I don't want my man to score. I'm going to do this and do that, and it's not about the other end. And when you play hard, the game of basketball usually finds you, and your shots go in because you're not worried about it. You get them in the flow of things. And now when you find that, now you can start running some actions to him. Now you can start creating opportunities for him because of confidence. And he's really worked hard at just simplifying. Now we know that ball's going in, so we can do some things with it.